So Jess and I are back with our college football segment. Still no name. The suggestions aren't getting any better.
No, getting worse.
They're getting worse. I don't know how they're getting worse.
It's not Foot Girls. It never has been Foot Girls, and it never will be Foot Girls.
And to the one of you that keeps commenting, I was told your feet are going to be up on the table. They're not. They're not. You can click away right now.
And we're wearing shoes. We're not. I'm not Margot Robbie in here walking around barefoot.
Can't live like this.
No.
Can't live like this. However, I think it's important that we just start this off. We just state it right here. Rutgers has a better record than Alabama right now.
Rutgers to the playoff?
That's the birthplace of college football.
It really is.
They invented it.
Yeah.
Can't believe they're so bad at it since they've been doing it longer than everybody else, but they invented it.
One of my favorite things that like slid under the radar this summer was that athletic story about Rutgers athletic department being like in crippling debt despite them being in the Big Ten and having like a massive television contract. But yeah, good for them. They play Michigan this upcoming weekend. Part of an exciting college football slate, which we will get to. Not really including the Rutgers-Michigan game. That one's not on the slate, on the top part of the slate that
Jim
we like.
Harbaugh's back from jail for that one though.
Yeah.
So it was a long 3 weeks.
But we're gonna start with a little recap of this past weekend, Lucy. Talked a lot about
We always do.
We always do. Talked a lot about Colorado. I was reading your sweatshirt. We talked a lot about Colorado on the Le Batard Show, but is there anything else, the game of the weekend, exciting, thrilling, double overtime finish that you wanted to say about the Colorado State game?
Jay Norvell, my guy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Got really conservative at the end of the game.
He's so conservative at the end of the game. He talks all this crap before the game starts, has his players out here like the Travis Hunter hit was not the only dirty hit I saw in that game. Yeah. Like, it was just one of those moments where you're like, you can't go out and like talk crap about respect and stuff like that and then have your players taking cheap shots out there. Then when you have the game in the bag, like a 99.4% chance of winning, you're like, you know what? Let's just play it safe here. That's the Iowa in the guy.
I love those winning probability charts on ESPN because, like, it's not an exact science, and we act like it is at times. So then when you see it go, like, off a plateau with, like, a minute left in a game and just plummet, it's like,
awesome.
Yeah, well, what did this even mean to begin with?
I need someone to send me all of the Nebraska ones from the last 2 years.
But yeah, Travis Hunter will be out for the next 3 weeks. Colorado's got their toughest opponents yet coming up. Oregon and USC, and then Arizona State. So he'll probably be out for all three of those. We'll just say it now. Colorado, Oregon this weekend. Colorado's a 20-point underdog. Oregon likes to score a lot of points. You taking Oregon in this game, Lucy?
I'll take Colorado to cover, but I'm taking Oregon. Oregon's secondary is a little suspect, but Colorado's best player is out. Oregon is more talented, and this is Bo Nix's year.
It's going to be a good day for the haters.
It's going to be a good day for the haters.
Except for the Bo Nix haters. They're going to hate it.
There can't be Bo Nix haters out there. That's not real. They don't exist.
They're just in Alabama.
They just live in Auburn.
You went to the Florida-Tennessee game.
I did.
What were your takeaways from that? It was an upset, but was it really an upset?
We semi-correctly predicted this on this segment last week, so feeling good about it. Tennessee was wildly overrated. Joe Milton can throw stuff really far, but that's about it. And Tennessee hasn't really adapted their offense to him. Tennessee's defense, I never really expect much from him. I was really impressed with Graham Mertz, not because I thought he was particularly great, but more like, wow, he's not bad. That's good for him.
Yeah,
he would be bad.
He was fine, and they ran the ball a lot. And Trevor Etienne, who would have thought? Great running back.
Yeah, crazy.
Sarcasm voice.
Yeah. Come on.
It's got the last name.
It was like Billy Napier just was like, oh my God, wait, this guy's on our team? Nobody told me about him. But it was a super fun game. It was my first SEC game I've ever been to, at least home one, and it was so exciting. The I Won't Back Down is one of the coolest traditions I've ever seen. Like
the Tom Petty singing.
I started to cry. It was such a beautiful moment. It was like, look at all of us spending this moment together. It was really, really nice. But
that is cute. I think the counter side of that in college football is West Virginia singing Sweet Caroline, but instead of the Let's Go Pitt, they say Eat Shit Pitt.
My heroes.
That's like if there's like a spectrum of college football songs that are sung in stadiums. One side you've got like, Tom Petty, like
back down.
My heart is swelling, and then the other side you have West Virginia fans yelling, Eat Shit Pitt. Sorry, you're gonna have to bleep that out now, Taylor. But The Brawl was also on Saturday night.
If we're talking one quick more moment on songs, Rocky Top, elite. It's a little annoying that they play it after everything. You're like, okay, that was a 4-yard run. I don't think we need to hear Rocky Top for that one.
Yeah.
But great song. Didn't hear it that much. But yeah, Backyard Brawl.
Pitt
Phil
does
Jerkovich.
not have a quarterback.
No, whatever the opposite of that is, that's what they've got.
I do feel for him because it doesn't seem like he's handling the pressure and the stress very well. And going on the road against your school's biggest rival in week 3 after the home crowd didn't treat you that nice, they weren't that happy about you, that's tough. And also I think Pat Narduzzi has like we make a lot of fun out of Iowa, but I think Pat Narduzzi deserves a lot of criticism for having just a completely stagnant offense since Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett left.
Pitt is just Iowa but blue. Like they're literally like they are the exact same team. And Pat Narduzzi is he's very Kirk Ferentz-esque, and I'm never gonna change my ways. I'm never gonna bench my quarterback. I'm never gonna, make any of these changes, and they're not doing it. I feel it's one of those things where Iowa's quarterback last year, Spencer Petras, was terrible, and you felt bad for him just getting dragged out there every game. You were like, at some point, it's up to the coach to be like, hey, we can't keep sending this kid through this. We have to give someone else a chance and quit, because fans were horrible, and that's what I feel like is going to happen to Jerkovich. It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch, because it's like, that is like a 20-year-old.
Well, he's a little bit older.
He's
than that.
older
This
than
is
that,
his third school.
Now we don't feel that bad.
I will
for
say
him.
something to look out for. 3 former Notre Dame quarterbacks played football this weekend. Started football games. Phil Jerkovich went 8 of 20 with 3 interceptions in the Brawl. Drew Pine went 5 for 13 for 52 yards and 2 interceptions and was benched. He fumbled his first play of the season. And Tyler Buckner for Alabama, we talked about a little bit on the show. I think he was 5 for 13. Did not look very good for Alabama. Just interesting, weird stuff going on. Sometimes you think you get a guy in the portal, and in fact, he's not the guy.
They can't all be Cade McNamara, They can't all be Cade. I really do want to talk about
Cade's stat line in the first half was eerily similar to those 3, but you're right.
I didn't see
They
it.
scored some points.
We
in the
scored a
second
lot of
half.
points. He is maybe the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Talking about Alabama, I do think quarterback is a giant glaring issue, and I think we can all look at that and address it. Alabama's offensive line is the worst I've ever seen it, and I think I think people aren't really shining the light on that so much, because Nick Saban has always had 5 stars that were beefy, good. Alabama's O-line hasn't ever been a problem. I thought it started to kind of show last year, and now I'm sitting here watching. I think that is the real problem with the Alabama offense right now. I think quarterback play can improve, but there's got to be protection there, and they just don't have it.
I don't think they have the tools necessary to make up for the fact that they don't have Bryce Young or Jalen Hurts or Tua or one of the great quarterbacks that they've had over the last 5 or 6 years starting back there. I'm with you.
Alabama has got to revert back to what they were doing 10 years ago, which it was just running the hell out of the ball with the best running backs you've ever seen. They never had a quarterback. A.J. McCarron wasn't shit, respectfully. So, I'm sorry. But he wasn't. He was fine. He got the job done, but no one was like, wow, this guy's a star. So I think it's one of those things where Alabama changed their identity so much, and now you're at a point where you don't have that quarterback, and you also don't have that line. You really don't have the crazy receivers we've seen over the past few years, where they just have to sort of revert back to what they've been doing, but that's a rough change to make, especially when the sport's changing, the style of play is changing, and NIL has made it so that all the talent isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Another top team to watch out for that was on upset alert late in their game, Florida State.
Y'all remember my take?
Ooh,
Y'all remember what I said?
Okay, so Boston College, worth noting, really bad this year.
Terrible.
Not a good Boston College team. They played really hard against Florida State, down to the wire, had a chance to win the game. But, Lucy, they had 18 penalties in this game. They were, making mistakes left and right it just seemed like they wanted to lose. They were no matter what they did, something would happen. They would do a face mask, some stupid penalty, a false start, and they penalized themselves out of the game.
Yeah.
A slightly more disciplined Boston College team wins this game, and Florida State, they lucked out at the end of this. They are so lucky. They played a bad game, and they were able to come away with a win. That's what college football is all about. Play like crap, win, doesn't matter. Scoreboard.
See, I think Florida State is very vulnerable. I've said that. I think they've got one loss in them. Boston College, the red bandana game is always something really special to them. They always play really well. Just that one game, though, not the other ones. They never play well in the other ones. It was one of those moments where it's like, I'm sitting here, I see Florida State is struggling against Boston College. Alabama can't score against USF. Georgia's fighting for their life against South Carolina, which is normal. Everyone fights for their life against South Carolina. Weird team. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, this feels like a year where there isn't anybody that's just wildly better than anyone else. And I'm like really obsessed with that. I'm having a good time.
It was a funky week 3 for a week with very few upsets. A very funky one. Like we learned a lot in week 3.
We did.
Well, not sure what we learned, but we learned a lot.
I learned Oklahoma State's terrible. Mike Gundy's got to go. They are so bad.
Yeah,
oh my
they lost
God.
to South Alabama.
They didn't lose to South Alabama. They got their shit handed to them at home.
33-7 against
insane.
South Alabama. They paid him $300,000 at home. Rough.
That's crazy.
Another big game from the weekend. You mentioned Georgia and South Carolina looking tough in the first half. I thought this could be a game where Georgia looks crappy and then wins by like 62 points. Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much of an offensive explosion, but they did wear down South Carolina and ended up looking pretty good afterwards.
They had one of these every year. I feel like it was Missouri last year, if I'm correct, or maybe it was the year before.
Missouri, they won by like 2 points last year.
Yeah, it was really close.
Yeah.
Also, shout out Mizzou, 61-yard field goal. That was awesome.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
That ruled.
That game was bananas.
That game was so great, and it's awesome because they're not going to play again for a long time. Like Kansas State just has to live with that.
Yeah.
Former conference rival, 61 yards right over your head. That's
the way that it happened. It was 56 yards, and then they got a penalty, and it was like maybe they're gonna chuck one up. Maybe they're gonna throw a Hail Mary. No, this Missouri kicker came in, Harris Mevis, nicknamed Thicker Kicker, according to Taylor.
He is.
He booted a 61-yard field goal to win the game. Upset of the weekend, Missouri over Kansas State. They were ranked number 15 in the country. Missouri hasn't, how long has it been since the last time they won the SEC East? Like a decade, maybe?
It's probably been, 10 or so years.
They've got good receivers, and they've got a kicker with a freaking, like, what is the opposite of having a cannon for an arm? A leg. I need Stugotz in here.
Maybe it's
a boot. I mean, I said boot already.
It could be a cannon for a leg.
He's got a cannon for a leg.
He's got a cannon for a leg. It's like a lead foot or something.
Yeah. Speaking of the backyard brawl, we did a little top 5 list this weekend because we thought, Neil Brown, the West Virginia head coach, he needed that. And there's also some other head coaches that really needed a win in week 3. So we made the top 5 list of head coaches that needed a win in week 3, Lucy. So why don't you give us the OLI?
All right, OLI for top coaches that needed a win. This guy just needs a win, period. Not week 3, anytime. Brent Pry, Virginia Tech. It sucks. I really like him. He's nice. He's cool. I know that doesn't make you good. He was nice to me the one time we talked, so I was like, hell yeah, man, I'm on your side. But that doesn't win you football games. And Virginia Tech, it's wild I feel terrible for that fan base. You've had so much success, more success than most, and now your program is stuck in oblivion, and you honestly just have to hope that Shane Bieber decides to leave South Carolina and go to Virginia Tech. But, whew.
They lost this weekend. They lost to Rutgers, Lucy.
Well,
so
they're 3-0.
He needed a win, and he didn't get one.
Look, they invented college football. You can't really blame them for that one, okay?
Number 5, Lucy?
Number 5, Mike Norvell, Florida State. I think he needed that win just because losing to BC, I think Florida State fans would have lost their minds.
You can't lose to BC.
You can't lose to BC.
Just in general.
I also think the timing is weird with Deion doing well because Florida State fans are very conflicted in their brain and they want Deion at Florida State, but they don't. They're happy and they're not. He needed that win. It would have been fun for the upset, but...
We're all rooting for the upset.
We're all rooting for the upset.
But Florida State plays Clemson next weekend.
Whew.
I wouldn't say it's a must-win for Mike Norvell.
I don't think it is either.
It's a should win, but it's not a must-win.
Would Florida State fans be more, if you're listening to this, let me know. Would you be more mad if they lost to Boston College or Clemson?
Yeah, that's a tough
They
call.
really hate Clemson.
It's got to be Boston College, though.
No, they really hate Clemson.
Losing to Boston College, and I say this as a fan of a program that has been burned by Boston College in the past, you don't get over those ones quickly.
It lives with you.
Yeah, we have at number 4, Matt Campbell, a guy who is always somehow in the coaching news cycle. Needed a win this weekend. Lost El Asico last weekend, Lucy.
It happens.
Have really had just the fact that Brock Purdy is starting for the 49ers, this guy's got to be on the hot seat as long as Brock Purdy's winning games in the NFL.
I could talk, how much time we got left? I can talk about Matt Campbell that
9
entire
minutes.
time. Good luck. Yeah, I don't even think it's just Brock Purdy. He had Breece Hall on his football team, and Iowa State, there is a ceiling. Objectively, there is. And everyone was like, well, he's going to stay, and then that'll rise, the ceiling will go up. That never happened. Matt Campbell missed just a huge opportunity where you had the opportunity to go to the NFL. I'm sure he could have landed a good Big Ten job. He had this whole world, but he was like, no, I can win at Iowa State. Bestie, no one can win at Iowa State.
Yeah.
That is just not a possible thing. And he had all the talent that Iowa State has ever had. And that was a 10-win. Did they even get to 10 wins? I don't know if Iowa State's ever won 10 wins in
I think
the
the
season.
year they played in the Camping World Bowl, they had 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, you're right. And they lost to Ohio 10-7 this past weekend. Ohio is a good MAC team. They will probably be on maybe in the MAC, maybe they'll win the MAC. I don't know. But regardless, you should beat Ohio if you're Iowa State.
There was a moment where Ricky Stanzi had as many bowl wins as Iowa State did. That's a program that's really, really hard to win at, and I think something that people are kind of forgetting about, that's also a team right now missing a lot of players because they bet on themselves.
Yeah, that
Literally.
I would blame the coach for that.
It's not... Well,
It's not his fault.
Kirk Ferentz let it happen.
I feel like if you're a coach at a college football team, you should be like, hey guys,
Don't
do this. You will
Don't.
lose all of your eligibility and everyone will make fun of you.
Except for the one Iowa player that bet on Caitlin Clark. You keep doing that. That was good money.
Don't
support
listen
women.
to Lucy. We're going to play a video of a fan yelling to Matt Campbell that he is in the hot seat.
Come on, Campbell, get after him!
Hey, Campbell, what are you doing? You're on the hot seat. You're on the hot seat.
So yeah, Matt Campbell's still in the hot seat, and that brings us to number 3, the guy we already mentioned, Neil Brown, head coach of West Virginia. Dude has a massive buyout, Lucy, which is probably why he's still there, but they've been pretty mid his entire tenure.
Yeah, they've never really won. They thought things were going to change when JT Daniels got there. Getting a win over Pitt is huge. They played okay against Penn State. And by okay, I mean much better than I thought. That game was actually pretty close until James Franklin was like, go for the kill. Yeah, Neil Brown, I don't think he'll be at West Virginia beyond this year, but save your money a little bit, see how things go, kind of sense the market. Because right now, last year, there were 2 vacancies, I believe, in the Power 5. Herm Edwards and Scott Frost, where now there isn't, a vacancy available. Get a little head start on the coaching search if you know you're going to make that call. Also, not on the list, but I do want to talk about it briefly because you brought up buyouts. Tom Allen, Indiana, insane buyout.
Oh, God.
Insane buyout.
Why?
I have no idea. He is also on the hot seat, except for they cannot pay him.
Also, Matt Campbell's best season at Iowa State was 2020, so the year after the Camping World Bowl. They were in the Fiesta Bowl. They won it. Credit to them. It was during COVID, which was the weirdest college football. Some teams played 4 games, so you get credit, but maybe not the best indicator of how good your program is if you were only a 9-win team once in the last I don't know, since 2016.
I really don't believe they've ever gotten to 10 wins, and I don't think I'm making that up as an Iowa fan.
I'm looking at their entire history. Nope, that's
bad.
Yeah, they had another 9-win season in 1906. Anyways, moving on. Number 2 on our list.
Number 2 of coaches that really needed a win this weekend. He got one. Billy Napier, Florida. He desperately needed a win, not because Honestly, only because Florida is so quick to run a coach out of town. They have absolutely zero patience in Gainesville.
He was on the hot seat like this summer.
Yeah, he has been on the hot seat. The Florida fans are a little more welcome and open to him because the recruiting classes he's bringing in is so good. But he needed that Tennessee win. I will say Florida's had Tennessee's number. They normally beat them. I don't think Tennessee's won in Gainesville in like 20 years.
They won like 13 of the last 15 or something crazy like that.
And they never, ever win in Gainesville. So good for Billy Napier. He really needed that win.
Also got a huge buyout.
Huge buyout.
If they want to fire him, they have to pay him so much money.
Honestly, they're those Florida fans that, yep, we'll do it. But I think they're more pleased with him right now because they have an insane class coming in.
And this isn't a hot seat list. This is teams who needed to win in week 3.
But he was on it. I would say it was lukewarm. He was on a lukewarm seat.
I think your seat's always lukewarm if you're the head coach in Florida.
Yeah, I think that's
They're
fair.
a very unhappy bunch.
Very miserable.
Number 1, a head coach that needed a win in week 3.
He got one, but I don't think it counts. Nick Saban. Nick Saban, Alabama. He needed a win. He's talking to Pee Wee on the phone with his radio show. Dude is not well.
Yeah, the Pee Wee clip. Ooh.
Ugh.
Coach, how are you, sir?
Well, Pee Wee, I've been wanting to talk to you all week, man. I mean, we got to firm up the pocket. We're setting too soft. We're getting pushed back in the middle. All right, everybody thinks we can't hold up against the blitz, but they're sacking us with 4-man rush, 1 3-man rush. Only 1 sack came off of a pressure, so I wanted to ask you what the hell's going on.
I believe you covered it all right there, Coach.
I love sassy Nick Saban, though.
I love him.
I do love Nick Saban when the chips are down and he claps back at fans. That's when I'm like, I admire this guy. He's been around for a long time and he knows what he's doing. His team might be extremely average in the SEC this year, but I still like him.
He loves that rat poison expression.
And these nuts jokes.
Yeah, loves him. He just injected into his veins, though. Yeah. He's like, yeah, say mean things about Alabama. Do it. It's like Kirby Smart.
What
Same
a guy.
thing.
Yeah. All right, so we want to look ahead a little bit. We've got a few minutes left on what has been described as the best college football slate, potentially of the entire season, at least until like Thanksgiving week, because that's when shit usually hits the fan in rivalry games. But Lucy, I don't know how you're going to top this. There's several top 25 matchups. Just to name a few, we have Florida State at Clemson, Colorado at Oregon, UCLA at Utah, Ole Miss at Alabama, Oregon State at Washington State, Ohio State at Notre Dame, Iowa at Penn State. We will be attending 2 of these. Guess which ones if you're at home. It's the Iowa Notre Dame games.
Ole Miss. No, just kidding. Yeah.
What are you the most excited for?
What am I most excited for? Ohio State, Notre Dame, I'm really excited for. I'm high on Notre Dame this year. I've watched a little bit of Ohio State's first 3 weeks. They weren't playing anybody particularly challenging. They struggled against Indiana. That's a team I really don't know much about and don't feel confident in, so I'm excited for that. Ole Miss, Alabama, I think is interesting. Lane Kiffin going up against Nick Saban, which is, a rivalry, I guess, even though it hasn't been. And this is the worst Alabama team we've ever seen. This is an Ole Miss team that's desperate for a win against Alabama. I will say Alabama had a team-only meeting, so that probably means they'll beat Ole Miss by 400.
Yeah, as bad as Alabama's looked the last couple weekends, like I need more before I'm like writing them off of any matchup.
They could. Their schedule, SEC West, is not really particularly tough this year. So Alabama could easily coast through the season undefeated. I don't think they are particularly great, and Ole Miss is just a team though that cannot beat them. So it would be fun to see that switch. I would love to see Lane Kiffin get a win. Florida State, Clemson's interesting. But I have a feeling that Florida State just might put the womp on them.
Put the womp on them alert. All right, let's cut this for social. Lucy, tell us what to expect in the Florida State-Clemson game.
I expect a lot of offense from Florida State and not much from Clemson. I think Florida State, for the first time in 10 plus years, is more talented than Clemson is. They just genuinely are more talented. Dabo, yes, they beat Florida Atlantic, but they haven't been super creative with play calling or anything like that.
They struggled against Charleston Southern.
Florida State almost lost to Boston College, but I honestly think it was a nice little kick in the ass.
Yeah.
So I think Florida State will win, and there's a lot of bad blood there.
There's a prediction from Lucy. We're doing good on predictions in this game. Clemson hasn't started a season 0-2 against conference teams since 2010. That was the Taj Boyd era before they were a 10-win team. So it's been a while for them. They haven't been in that position. We'll see if they are this year.
Do you have a winner for Notre Dame, Ohio State for you?
Look, I think it's a pretty even matchup in a lot of, like, Notre Dame's got great corners. Ohio State's got great wide receivers. I think Notre Dame's got the edge at quarterback with Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
He's played more games. He's experienced.
He's played all the games.
He's played every game. Going back to that Rutgers
Yeah.
game, the very first one, he was in it. Go check the tape. I don't know. Notre Dame, I never bet on Notre Dame games. I don't want to jinx my own team, but I think it'll be a good game. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice.
Yeah.
Iowa will either beat Penn State, I'm not saying they will, or they're going to lose by 30. There's no in between. If it's a close game, Iowa is winning. If it is not, well, I was just there for the memories. I just wanted to go do a little whiteout and have some fun.